never seem to be able to have enough kick drums for some reason. So today I'm looking at using the FM drum engine in Digitone II, the Overbridge version, combining it with Ableton Live's instrument racks to create a little rack that enables you to generate random kick drums or very easily fine-tune kick drums for use in your music. As always, I'll first explain how the rack works and how it combines with Overbridge. Then we'll look at how you can set it up yourselves if you wish to. Let's have a look at the rack then, what's going on. It's set up in a very simple manner. I set it up with these numbers just so that you're kind of inspired or forced, if you like, perhaps not the best word, but you're inspired, let's say, to just experiment with the numbers, move them around and see what comes out. More about using your ears than thinking about, oh, this is this particular function in the rack. So that's the way I've built it up. And if I explain what's actually going on, we have here the FM drum engine in Digitone II. I've created a default patch which I've called Kick Generator, which has some specific settings. We're in mono, we've got a bit of an offset here. I'll show all this in how you put this together in the build in the next section of the video. I've changed here the type of amp envelope we're using and made some other small tweaks. The filter is set to a low pass as an example. So you set up your default patch, save it, and then when you want to generate these kick drums, you just recall them. That's the first step. Now the kick generator itself, if you want to see the names, you can look at the bottom here. So this one adjusts. Number 1 is the algorithm. 2 is operator C. Here we have C, A, B, the feedback waveform, etc. So I've mapped some of the functions in Digitone and I've constrained them in a certain manner so that we're always in the sort of kick drum ballpark as close as we can get to it. So that allows us to then hit random, maybe tweak it around and generate new kick drums. I've not randomized the AHD here, the envelope here, so that you can set this up how you want. A bit more tone on here. So you can set this to the shape of the kick drum you want. Maybe you want a longer tail or whatever. Or you have here pitch as well. Here, this one will be. So there's some flexibility in the rack. As I say, these are set up the drum shape you want, hit the randomize and see what comes out. Tweak it further if you need to. You can tune. This plays on a C3. I have the notes playing on C3. So this is set up for C3, but of course you can play any key on the keyboard or adjust your tuning to wish. And it's just a case then of finding a tone you like. We'll come to this in a second. Finding a tone you like. Once you've got a tone you like, rename it, save it. It's saved to the Digitone. As easy as that. Yeah, so let's just have a quick look at this then, what we had open here. These are basically the functions of Overbridge mapped to the instrument rack here. These are then mapped to the macros. I'll come to that in the build. Right, well, I think there's not so much more to say. It's best to actually put this thing together and then you'll understand better. I say the key to it are these settings here, which I leave at the end of the video. If you want to build this yourselves, you can pop those in. And yeah, there's a whole world of kick drums to be found. Okay, let's have a look. See how it's put together. Okay, so I've dropped the Digitone II VST here and found in the plugins, dropped it onto a MIDI track. this drops it in here, gives you this box here. I've already mapped mine, so right click and group it, or you can use the Command G, Control G. This then puts it into the instrument rack. If we click here, we'll get the macros. We'll need all 16. I've kept my original names here to speed things up. So we need those. Then the first thing we need to do is to set up a default preset for generating kick drums. And we need to create it here in Overbridge and then save it, and then you recall it whenever you want to use this rack. So we'll go through and make a few settings. The first one is I dropped the octave in offset by -2. Set this to be mono. Didn't use the original, I don't use the original envelope, I switched it here, the AHD envelope, and I turn off this note value here, this little switch, because we'll be mapping that. Finally, I think we need to adjust this over to a high pass filter, and I think that's everything. Right, so once you've got this set up as a default, you could make other settings. You could always have overdrive in your default, or delay, reverb, whatever you want. Set this up how you want, then name it. And you would then save this here into an empty preset position onto the Digitone II. So, okay. So that's the first thing then. This is set up with the FM drum, we're done. Now we come down here, and I'm just going to reduce this a little bit for a second. So we have this little arrow here. For some reason it's added some values here. Let me just delete those. Okay, so then we'll open up this little arrow here. This allows us to get into the configure menu. This enables us to map the parameters in Overbridge to our instrument rack, and then from there we can map them into the macros. So let's just return this to 120 again so we can see a little bit what's going on. And I'll just go through my list of parameters that I mapped, and then we'll connect them to the macros. So the first one I had was algorithm. Click on there. Then I had C-Wave. And if you just use the mouse and just wiggle them a bit, sometimes they don't appear here, but if you just wiggle them, they'll appear. I also had the wave fold, feedback. So those four. Then we have the sweep time, the sweep depth, the drum transient, the transient level here, this value here, attack time of the amp. Then we have the decay for both of the ratio modulation envelopes here. So those two will map, decay A and decay B. Then we have the syn body decay, which is this value here. The amp decay time here. Then we have the filter width for the band width filter here. The filter frequency and the resonance. Then we have these two mods, mod A and mod B. Body hold, this value here from the body envelope. The amp hold time, this value here. And finally the tune. Okay, so those are the parameters we'll be using. So now we can reduce this again, come out of the configure menu, and we just need to map these over to our macros. So if we click here on the mapping, we can now start mapping. On number 1, I had the algorithm. So we click on the algorithm, map it to 1. Then on number 2, I had the C-Wave, operator C-Wave. On number 3, I had operator AB wave here. Number 4, I had the wave fold. Number 5 is the syn feedback. 6 is the sweep time. 7 is the sweep depth. 8 is the drum transient here. Down here, we'll map that. Number 9 is the transient level here. Then we have on A the amp attack time, which is this value here. Map that to A. Then we have on D, we have the sin B decay. We have also the sin A decay on the same macro. We have the body decay here, also on the D. And finally we have the amp decay time, that also goes on the D. Then we have filter width, which I have mapped to the filter frequency here. The filter frequency itself is also mapped here. The resonance has its own macro. And then we finally have here on the FM, we have the sin model B and model A. Those two go on the FM setting. The body hold goes on H, along with the amp hold time here. And finally, we have the tune goes here. Okay, so that's everything mapped to the macros. Now, the most important part are the constraints here that we punch in. These limit this Overbridge to generating effectively kick drums. So to speed things along a bit, I'll just display them now. You can just copy them and punch them into your rack. Okay, so that's all set up. We should now be able to close this, try a random kick drum and try our luck, see what we get. Try another one. Okay, so there we go. Everything seems to be working. So you can adjust these, change the tone. Once you've got something you like, you need to rename it, whatever the name of the kick drum is, and then save it to your library on Digitone, and off you go. This you can close up now, you don't need this anymore. Adjust the tuning. As always, hope this has been useful to someone, and see you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.